Hey guys, this is Kendall and welcome to a new gaming pickups video. I know I said I probably wasn't going to do any more of these, but I've got a good stack of games here, and so I just want to get through it. So we're going to start things off. So Xbox decided they were going to increase their subscription price for Game Pass Ultimate to like $30 a month, which to me is a bit too high. So I ended up canceling my Game Pass subscription, and I've started buying physical copies of the games I played through Game Pass, preferably on Xbox if I can. So, we're going to start things off here with Psychonauts 2. Really enjoyed this. Played it through Game Pass. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, my copy here got a little bit damaged when I was trying to peel off the sticker from Amazon because there's a cardboard slipcover on this. I haven't actually opened this copy yet because I've already played through the game. But yeah, still really, really good platforming. You don't need to have played Psychonauts 1 in order to enjoy this. But I would still recommend it because this is, kind of a direct sequel. So I would still very much recommend it. Really, really good game as well. I also picked up Sea of Stars. I downloaded this through Game Pass. I have not actually played it yet. I've mostly kind of been waiting around to do other things, and so I'm looking forward to giving this a shot sometime soon. I do know that it's kind of in a similar vein to Chrono Trigger in terms of gameplay, and in fact, the music for this game was done by Yasunori Mitsuda, who was the same guy who did most of the music for Chrono Trigger, which is like the best game when it comes to JRPGs. It's like the ultimate masterpiece for 16-bit JRPGs. So I'm definitely looking forward to at least hearing this game, if not outright playing it. So definitely looking forward to trying that at some point. I also picked up the Tomb Raider 4 through 6 Remaster Collection. Again, I haven't opened this yet because I have not yet finished the Tomb Raider 1 through 3 Remaster Collection. I got like halfway through Tomb Raider 2 and put it down for a while, and I kind of want to go through all three of them before I do the next trilogy. And, I honestly thought that, if they did another Remaster Collection, it was just going to be 4 and 5, because those use the same engine as 1 through 3. Whereas 6 was where they really tried to change things up. 6 was when they transitioned from the PS1 to the PS2, so they really were trying to change things up with gameplay and stuff, and it didn't quite work out, unfortunately. But I'm still definitely looking forward to giving these a shot at some point. I'm hoping we'll get at least one more remaster collection for Tomb Raider for the Legends trilogy. Those I do think really need a remaster because we haven't really seen those in a long time. At least the Survivor trilogy is available on modern platforms, but the Legacy trilogy is not. I'd have to look and see whether or not the Xbox 360 versions are available through backwards compatibility on Xbox One and Series X, but I do know that they're not available on the PS3 versions are not available on PS4 or PS5, although they did recently, a year or two ago, they put up the PS2 version of Tomb Raider Legends, and I think recently the PS2 version of Tomb Raider Anniversary, which I didn't even know existed until recently either. I still need to get a copy of that, because I have the PS2 versions of Legend and Underworld, but I'm missing Anniversary to have the whole trilogy there. I also picked up the Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake. I did enjoy the Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake, which is a prequel to Dragon Quest 1 and 2. However, I ended up running into a trouble in the end game where I was significantly under-leveled. And that was just playing through the game normally, significantly under-leveled for the late game dungeons and bosses, and I didn't really feel like putting in all that, time grinding. So I ended up dropping the game down to easy mode, which allows you to turn on basically God mode, where your characters will they'll drop down to 1 HP in combat, but will not drop below that. They cannot be KO'd. So you can just, muddle through that way. And I did the same thing with Dragon Quest 1 and 2. I played through them as long as I could on normal difficulty, but then there was a massive difficulty spike, and I did not feel like going off and grinding and power leveling. So for Dragon Quest 1 and 2, I ended up dropping it down to easy. And for Dragon Quest 2, I found out that there's optional post-game content, which would unlock a true ending, and I started that, but there is this mind-numbingly punishing optional dungeon, even on easy mode, with basically God mode enabled. It's really stupid because there's like 16 plus levels to this dungeon. Each one has a random exit that is not obvious at all outside of using a single skill called Peep, which is an optional skill. It's not something you get by leveling up. And I had no idea where to go to get it. I was like, I'm not going to bother with this. I got the normal ending. That's enough for me. I don't know if Dragon Quest 4 through 6 carry on in the same world that Dragon Quest 1 through 3 did, because or if they're off in a different world. Because I'm pretty sure, even though Dragon Quest 1 through 3 are a full trilogy, and I'm pretty sure 4 through 6 are a full trilogy as well. I think after that, Dragon Quest started doing the Final Fantasy thing where it was a new world with every entry, where 7 is taking place in a different world from 8, from 9, from 10, which is an MMO, and from 11, and so on. So I'm interested in seeing where this series goes. I do know they're doing a remake of Dragon Quest 7 coming out this next year, so I'm looking forward to playing that at some point as well. I do understand why people enjoy these. It's just I'm not huge into that grind style, so I just didn't much care for that. So maybe eventually at some point I'll go through them again, give them another true shot, and so on. It's just I've got so many games. You see this massive wall behind me. I've got so many games, and so many I haven't actually played. As a matter of fact, most of the rest of these games I haven't even touched yet, because I just have so little time to play it, and I keep getting more games. So anyways, I picked up Saints Row the Third and Saints Row 4 for PS3 to kind of fill out my PS3 collection. I haven't played any Saints Row games yet. I have heard good things about at least these two, so I am looking forward to giving them a shot at some point. However, I do know there are remasters and ports and so on that include more content than just the base game, like include the DLC as well. So I'll probably pick those up at some point and play those instead of playing the base PS3 version. But I do want to give these a shot at some point. Definitely glad to add them to my collection. I got Wolfenstein: The Old Blood for Xbox One. I have been wanting this for the longest time. This is a standalone prequel to Wolfenstein: The New Order, which was the reboot of the Wolfenstein series from 2014, I think it came out. This came out in, I think, like 2015. Let's see. Yeah, 2015. And this was a digital-only title at the start, I think. So I ended up buying it. It was like $20 digital, and playing through it at that point that way. But eventually I found out that they did release a physical version, and I've wanted it ever since, because I have the rest of this reboot series in physical format on not PS5, on Xbox One. Wolfenstein: The New Order, Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, and Wolfenstein: Young Blood, which was the co-op focused one. That was the most recent and so far last entry in the Wolfenstein series, but I didn't have a physical copy of the Old Blood, so I wanted to get that. It's not very long. It's only about 5 to 10 hours, which is okay for a single player first person shooter, but it's still very much enjoyable. And this kind of explains what was going on, like right before the New Colossus starts, right before the prologue of the New Colossus. So this is where you're exploring, Castle Wolfenstein itself, whereas you don't really do that in the rest of the reboot. The New Blood, the New Colossus, and Young Blood. So definitely glad to have this added to my collection as well. Beyond that, I did get some GameCube games, taking advantage of the local GameStop, which has a decent retro selection. It's not a great selection. It's not even a huge selection, but it's a decent selection. You might find some interesting stuff here and there. So I did get some GameCube games, like nothing really expensive or rare, but some that I'm interested in playing at some point, including 007, Everything or Nothing. This is kind of a this is a Pierce Brosnan era James Bond story, and so I don't know if this came out before or after. So this was 2004, so this was before Casino Royale, when James Bond transitioned to Daniel Craig. And so this is, again, it's not based on a movie. I don't even know if it's based on one of the original James Bond books. I doubt it. But this is like an original James Bond story, and with First Light coming out sometime this next year, I'm definitely interested in playing more James Bond games, especially since the only one I've ever really played was the original GoldenEye on the N64. So definitely planning on giving this a shot at some point. So glad to add that to my collection. I also picked up Tak 2, The Staff of Dreams. This is based on, actually I think it was Tak and the Power of Juju was the first game. And I don't remember if the game or the show came first, but there was a brief-lived Nickelodeon show, I want to say, based on the games. And that's why this has like the Nickelodeon branding. So because of that, like there's like all this extra like Nickelodeon stuff, including like Nick Gamer, Secrets Revealed, talking about like various, Nickelodeon characters and stuff from that era. So I'm definitely glad to add this to my collection. I've heard good things about the Tak games, and so I've wanted to play them. But before I start this, I do want to get Tak and the Power of Juju and play through that first before I do this one. Next one I picked up purely on a whim because I'd never really heard or seen of it before, and that is Freedom Fighters. This is apparently from the makers of Hitman 2, so this would be from IO Interactive, I believe. I'm not sure. Did IO do Hitman 2? There we go. I've got Hitman 2 on Xbox. So this was, IO Interactive, published by Eidos for Hitman 2, Silent Assassin. So this was published by Electronic Arts, but it's from the makers of Hitman 2. So I don't know if that's like actually developed by IO or if it's just some of the people that worked on Hitman 2 left and joined Electronic Arts to make this. So I don't really know too much about this. It looks like it's a third-person shooter of some kind, where you're playing as a freedom fighter in the United States. So I don't know like who invaded or what's going on. Like, I remember there was Homefront. I still need to get Homefront Revolution, where Homefront was North Korea invaded the United States, which is not something that would ever happen in real life at all. Like, the most they would do is launch a nuclear attack, but North Korea is not going to invade the U.S. ever. They don't have the power to do that. Now, China, on the other hand, could do that. So I don't know who... It doesn't really say... Yeah, it just says, in the streets and alleys of New York City. So, in our nation's darkest hour, Americans cry out for a hero to free a war-torn Manhattan from invading forces. It doesn't say who the invading forces are. Might not even be, a specific named country or anything like that. But I'm interested in trying this out at some point because I don't really know anything about it. I just kind of picked it up mostly on a whim. Anyways, the last GameCube game I picked up was Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Not going to say too much about this. You guys know what I feel about J.K. Rowling. And so I'm not buying like any new Harry Potter stuff. This was pre-owned. That's not in print anymore. So I didn't feel too bad about picking this up because all the money I paid for this went straight to GameStop. So that's it. She got her money from this when it first came out in that initial first sale. So anyways, glad to add it in my collection because I was a huge Harry Potter fan as a kid. But based on what J.K. Rowling's been doing recently, I don't know when or if I'm ever going to actually play this. Beyond that, I picked up Wii Play. I already had a copy of Wii Play. However, I had the full bundle copy with the Wiimote. That was actually how I got my second Wiimote. But it takes up so much space on the normal shelf, and it doesn't say Wii Play on the side. It's just, a picture of a Wiimote on the side here. Now, it does say Wii Play on the other side, but it's missing like that Wii branding and stuff like that beyond just the title itself. So that's why I picked up just a standalone copy. And I would like to do the same for Wii Sports Resort because I have the Wii Motion Plus bundle for that, and also the New Player Select or play whatever it's called copy of Wii Sports, because the original copy that came with the Wii is just in this little cardboard sleeve. And I want like a full, like proper DVD case. And I know they released a standalone copy of this because they eventually stopped bundling it with the system. And I want to, basically have that to put on my shelf and then just tuck this back into the Wii system or the Wii box. Beyond that, I mentioned Tomb Raider earlier. I picked up the Wii copy of Tomb Raider Underworld. I don't know how much this plays different from the PS2 version. However, I do know that those two are kind of, paired in parity with each other. They weren't the flagship next-gen versions like on the Xbox 360, PS3, and PC at the time, but these were, the last-gen versions. But I don't know what the difference is in gameplay. I assume there's some kind of waggle controls beyond that. I do need to play that at some point. I also picked up Monster Jam Urban Assault, which is a shovelware title, I would assume. It's not something I'd ever really heard of before, and I don't know too much about this other than it's monster trucks and some kind of racing, and there's like mini games and stuff, and there's even like actual licensed monster trucks in here. Like you've got Gravedigger is the specific one they call out, but there's also like mini games like a skee ball version of monster trucks and so on. So I'm interested to give this a shot at some point. I just don't really know much about it beyond that. I did pick up a couple Xbox 360 games as well, including Viva Pinata Trouble in Paradise. It's not Viva Pinata 2. I do think it, I don't know if this includes like the original Viva Pinata or if it's like an expansion or whatever, but there were a couple expansions for Viva Pinata, and this is one of them. So I'm glad to add it to my collection. I never got much into Viva Pinata. I tried it once and just didn't really get that far into it. So maybe at some point I'll give it another shot and, try Trouble in Paradise. And there's at least another Viva Pinata game as well. Beyond that, I did also pick up Halo Reach. Now, I've had a copy of Halo Reach since it first came out. I remember going to the midnight launch for Halo Reach, and I got the Legendary Edition, which was the massive $150 version with the massive statuette inside it and stuff like that. And I've got that. But the reason I picked this up was because I wanted a standard edition copy so I could pack the special edition copy back into the big box. And I'm going to be doing that with a lot of other games I've gotten in recent, back in the day when I was getting all these collector's editions. I want to get standard edition copies to put on the proper shelf so I can put the collector's editions, have them like all together rather than piecing them out. So I can just put stuff on the shelf and stuff like that. So look forward to more Xbox 360, PS3 games like that in the future, because I've still got to get standard copies of Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, Fable 3, God of War 3. I think those are the big ones. And then there's a few PC games as well. Sid Meier's Civilization 5 and Fallout New Vegas. I got collector's editions of those that I want to put back together rather than piecing out. Beyond that, I did get some original Xbox games, including Call of Duty 3. I don't know how much this differs from the Xbox 360 version, which again, like with Tomb Raider Underworld, this was the last gen version. There was also a flagship next gen version on Xbox 360 and so on, and that's when I played. So I imagine the story would be like roughly the same for this. It's probably just going to be like lesser graphics for this one, at least. I don't expect too much difference in terms of gameplay. Still glad to add that to my collection, though. I do need to get Call of Duty 2 for the original Xbox, though. Looking into getting more other Call of Duty games. I have not played Black Ops 7 yet because, like I said, I canceled my Game Pass subscription. So I'm back on the route of being a year or two or more behind on Call of Duty games, especially because I had been playing them on Xbox. Xbox isn't really doing physical versions anymore, and when they do, there's not really much data on the disc itself. Like, I might pick up an Xbox Series version of Modern Warfare 3 at some point, which I think was the last physical version they did, but it's literally like 50 megabytes on the disc, and it's just a key that lets you download the game, and that's it. Basically the equivalent of a Switch 2 game key card, which I have not bought any of those yet. I've been able to hold out on those, even though there's a few that I would like. I've been able to hold out on those. I don't know if I'm going to still be able to hold out once the Final Fantasy games start releasing on Switch 2 via game key cards, but we'll see. Anyways, I also picked up Mercenaries, Playground of Destruction. I have heard of this game before. I don't know too much about it, but I have heard of it, and I've heard that it's actually relatively decent. So I'm glad to have this in my collection. I'll play it at some point. I do know there's a Mercenaries 2 that exists, but I haven't seen it yet. I also picked up Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring for the original Xbox. This is not based on the movie. It even says down here, official game based on the literary works of J.R.R. Tolkien. So basically what happened was, back when they were making the original movies, Peter Jackson, New Line Cinema, and so on, they were able to get the film rights to the books, but they did not have the game rights. So what had happened was, as they were working on the movies, people had realized, the game rights are available. We're going to license the property, license the books to make games, and maybe we can cash in on on the popularity of the movies once those start coming out. So you saw some games like this, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. There was also The Hobbit as well that came out around this time that were based on the books and not the movies. So they were a little bit different and so on. And then later on, you would see games based on the movies, where they would get the game rights from the films and the books. And so on. So I'm definitely glad to add this to my collection. I do want to give it a shot at some point. I've heard interesting things about it, but beyond it, I don't know too much. Last off for console games is Leisure Suit Larry Magna Cum Laude. So Leisure Suit Larry was this classic graphical adventure game from Sierra Interactive, same people that did Space Quest, King's Quest, Police Quest, that kind of thing. And it was this classic graphical adventure game where you kind of played as this sleazy guy named Leisure Suit Larry, trying to get the girl and stuff like that. And this series kind of had a little bit of a renaissance on the original Xbox, where they kind of took it in 3D. So I'm glad to add it to my collection. I don't know when or if I'm going to actually play it. It's definitely a comedic series. But again, it's also a bit sleazy, and you can tell like just from the cover here, and also some of the screenshots on the back. So yeah, even the tagline is "Help Larry earn a BA in TNA," so basically tits and ass. So this is like Larry goes to college and stuff like that, trying to chat up some co-eds and stuff. So I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever actually play this. Glad to add it to my collection, but beyond that, I don't know. Who knows? Anyways, beyond that, I do have 2 more games to talk about. And that is because I recently went on vacation. And you guys know, when I go on vacation, I like to order some things off of eBay. Oh, I actually forgot a game. Speaking of eBay, I got Fortress for the Game Boy Advance. I forgot to pull it down off my shelf before this. So this is a Tetris clone. Where it's got some extra things. You play through like 4 different ages. There's like prehistoric Dark Ages, there's medieval ages, there's kind of a space age, and there is kind of a fantasy age, I want to say. Oh, piracy, Age of Piracy. So the medieval has like fantasy stuff, like dragons and stuff like that. So if you stack blocks in certain ways, you can create like a wizard's tower that will send out like a monster to wreck your opponent's fortress. Because again, it's a Tetris clone where you got basically Tetris blocks falling from the ground or falling from the ceiling to the ground, and you stack them up to create a fortress. And your square blocks are the ones that you can use to heal or create weapons and so on to destroy your other stuff and so on like that. So definitely glad to add this to my collection. I remember playing this back in the day, really enjoyed it, so I'm glad to add it to my collection. Anyways, what I was saying, you guys know I like to buy stuff off of eBay when I'm on vacation, because at my apartment complex, the mailman does not have a key for the building, and there's certain things I like to get that are too big to fit in the mailbox, and the mailman, understandably, doesn't want to just leave it out and about. So what I'm talking about, of course, are big box PC games. And so I ended up getting a couple of these, one of which I had as a kid, and I'm very much glad to add this to my collection. That is Ken's Labyrinth. Now, don't let the box deceive you. This is a first-person shooter. This is actually a Doom clone back before Doom clones were really a thing. This is really more of a Wolfenstein clone. So you can see kind of on the back here what the game actually looks like. And so this was made by a guy by the name of Ken Silverman, hence Ken's Labyrinth, where he ended up going on to create the Build engine, which powered Duke Nukem 3D and a whole bunch of like other 3D realms and 3D realms adjacent first-person shooters. Duke 3D, Blood, Shadow Warrior, and so on. And so I remember playing this as a kid, and I don't think my parents ever really realized, they caught on to the fact that it was a first-person shooter, because they thought it was just, you're exploring a maze, and that's it. But no, it's a full first-person shooter with over 29 levels, and I remember loving the hell out of this game, and I wanted to get a physical copy of this for so long. This game is considered abandonware now, like 15, 20 years ago, back in the early 2000s, mid 2010, something like that. Ken Silverman dumped a a fully licensed version of this online. You can find it on like archive, the Internet Archive, to play this game through DOSBox, because this is a DOS game. So I'm definitely glad to add this to my collection. It's on a 3.5-inch floppy disk, which unfortunately I don't know whether or not it actually has any data on it. Another thing I bought on eBay while I was on vacation, the reason why I don't have like huge stack of big box PC games was I bought an old Windows XP gaming machine I got it for like $120 and then like $50 shipping. So like less than $200 after tax and everything. Not a bad deal for it. And it plays almost anything under the sun I can throw at it, from Windows XP and before, including DOS games, I'm pretty sure. However, I don't know if it's the disk drive on this isn't working, or if there's just no data on this disk anymore, considering how old it is. But I could not get this game to run from the disk. And it's supposed to be able to run straight from the disk, too. The way it's set up, it even, has the directions right on the disk here. Just insert the disk, type drive A or B, whichever's for your 3.5-inch floppy drive. And then, type A/ or A colon or B colon, then hit enter to get to the right one, and then type go and hit enter. And I just could not get it to work. Now it could be that the Windows, the version of Windows XP on this system, it's Windows XP Home. It might not have enough compatibility with DOS, because Windows XP was about when they started pulling DOS out of Windows. They stopped putting it they stopped including it. They stopped putting Windows on top of DOS and stuff like that. You can still run things through the command prompt, so that might be the issue. I might just need to get DOSBox on there, but I don't know. Still glad to have a physical copy of this game. I wish I could verify that there was still data on this disc, because again, it's an old magnetic disc. A lot of these things are starting to lose data just because of how old they are. They're starting to lose the magnetism that's holding that data on there and stuff like that. But I'm still glad to have a physical copy of it, and specifically this box, because this was the same box I had as a kid. So I'm definitely glad to add this to my collection, even if it's useless. Like I said, the game's available on Internet Archive. You can download DOSBox, and run it just fine on a modern Windows, Windows 11 machine and stuff like that. In fact, I played it that way on my modern system not that long ago. Another game I got, and this will be the last one here, is a game I have wanted for the longest time, ever since I saw it in the shop when I was a kid. And I never actually got it. Or rather, I never got this version of it. And that is Corkscrew Follies, the first expansion for the original Roller Coaster Tycoon. Again, big box. There's not too much in here, just a couple of paper inserts and a sealed, actually. The box wasn't sealed, but the jewel case game itself is sealed. And so I don't know if this is original seal or what. I haven't opened it to find out, but it's pretty heavy in here. So that tells me that, yeah, there's a decent sized manual in the jewel case, and the disc is most likely in here as well. And it even says, Corkscrew Follies. The reason why I wanted this, again, I have been a Roller Coaster Tycoon fan since I was a kid, and I love Roller Coaster Tycoon. And I'm just trying to put this back in here. There we go. All right. And unfortunately, these are a little bit hard to come by, especially in the big box and as a standalone. Because what happened was they released Roller Coaster Tycoon, then they released Corkscrew Follies, and then they released a second expansion pack called Loopy Landscapes. Now, I don't know if Loopy Landscapes was ever offered on its own like Corkscrew Follies was. However, most of the copies I've seen of Loopy Landscapes includes Corkscrew Follies. So it includes both. And in fact, I have a physical copy of Roller Coaster Tycoon Gold right up here. Yeah, you can see I've rearranged my games a little bit to take advantage of the space I have. So I have Roller Coaster Tycoon Gold, which includes Corkscrew Follies and Loopy Landscapes. However, it's only on 2 discs. And in fact, if you look really closely on the back here, it shows the box art from all 3 games, and it's kind of hard to see because it's kind of out of focus. But that Loopy Landscapes, it even says on that box, includes Corkscrew Follies. So I do still need to get a standalone copy of Loopy Landscapes in the big box, but I'm glad to add Corkscrew Follies. Now, there was another game I had planned to get, at least one more, and that was a big box copy of Myst Masterpiece Edition to add to my collection. You know, you guys know I'm a huge Myst fan. However, the copy I ordered never arrived. About a few days go by after I order it, and it still hadn't shipped yet, and then I suddenly get an email from the guy who sold it saying, hey, sorry, I gotta cancel the order, you're getting refunded and everything. He never explained why it was canceled, but just that he said he got it to cancel the order, so I didn't get it. And unfortunately, by that point, I had already bought the gaming computer, so I was like, I don't really want to spend too much more money while I'm on vacation here because I'm trying to save up money, and it's a good thing I didn't actually buy that much more, because on the very last day of my vacation, the day before my credit card bill was due, my TV died. My big screen TV where I play most of my console games died. I heard a pop from across the room, went to investigate, wouldn't turn on. Best I can figure on the from looking around online is a capacitor in the internal power supply blew. So I could potentially try to fix it myself, but I don't know enough. I could try to take it somewhere to get it fixed, but it's probably going to be super, super expensive. And considering it was roughly a 4-year-old TV, I just decided to go ahead and buy a new TV. So that's going to be here tomorrow. I bought a 65-inch LG C5, so that's going to be here tomorrow. And I'm really, really excited for it. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be my first OLED TV, first OLED display in general, because I never bought the Switch OLED. And the PS Vita I got was a later model with just a standard LCD instead of an OLED screen. So this will be my first OLED. And I'm really excited for it. I'm really happy for it. I kind of wanted to get the G5, but even with the Black Friday sales, it was a little bit outside my price range, especially since it didn't include a stand to put it on. It only included like a wall mount bracket. And because I rent, I don't really want to put more holes in the wall than I have to. So I went with the C5, which should include a stand. So definitely glad for that, to add them to my collection. So that is my gaming pickups video this time. Again, because I just bought a brand new TV. I don't know if there's going to be another one at the end of the year here. I would like to, because I kind of want to get to 1,300 games by the end of the year. But unfortunately, like I said, I just spent a massive amount of money on a new TV. So I don't know whether or not that's going to happen. I also don't know whether or not I'm going to continue doing these in the future. I mentioned at the end of my last video, there was a new project I wanted to start working on, and I did start on it, but I'm at that point where I'm starting to stall out on it again. This is something I've been trying to do for years now, and I keep stalling out at various points in the process, and so I don't know if it's going to happen. Plus, I'm starting to get that Let's Play itch again, especially with Fallout Season 2 dropping here in a couple weeks. That makes me want to start playing Fallout games again. And I've never played the original Fallout 2 or Fallout Tactics. I've never spent much time in Fallout 76. There's been rumors of a remaster for Fallout 3 coming at some point, and they did just drop an anniversary edition remaster of Fallout 4. So who knows? I might start doing Let's Plays again. I might not. If I do, probably one of those early ones is going to be Fallout 2. I'm starting to think part of the reason why I burn out on Let's Plays isn't just the fact that nobody's watching, which it's Let's Plays. That's understandable. These things are evergreen content. People come to them as they go on. I've had somebody recently watching the Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine Let's Play on my channel, and I know that they've been doing that because they've been leaving comments. So if whoever that is watching this video, thank you very much. I really enjoy reading your comments, and I really appreciate you watching my content. I would like to do more Indiana Jones games at some point. I've been trying to go through them in order. So next up would be Emperor of Dreams, I believe. I've got the 360 version. Not 360, Emperor's Tomb. Emperor's Tomb. So I've got the Xbox 360 or the Xbox version. Probably will play this for the channel because it upscales to 4K on Series X. You know, it's one of the backwards compatible titles. So if I do a Let's Play of this, that'll be the version. Although I do want to collect other versions because the next one after that is Staff of Kings, which the next gen version got canceled. And the only versions that came out were the PS2, Wii, and PSP, and there's like differences between each version as well, like drastic differences. Like there's this YouTuber I watch occasionally called Flandrew, and he will go through like all the different versions of specific games that specifically these games that span like different generations back when that really meant something. So you'd end up with drastically different games for each generation, but all, you know, with the same box art, same title, and everything. Case in point would be like Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. This was the next gen version, available on PS2, GameCube, and original Xbox. Those three versions were all roughly in sync with each other, all parity. However, they were completely different from the PC version and also from the Game Boy Advance version. And I don't think there was a PS1 version at this point. I think that capped out at Chamber of Secrets, just like with the Game Boy Color capped out at Chamber of Secrets as well. But they were like all different versions based on the capabilities of those systems. So definitely give Flandrew a check if you're interested in checking out that kind of thing as well. But beyond that, that is it for now. I will see you guys sometime in the future. So until then, thanks for watching. Please remember to comment, rate, and subscribe.